Scientists of Reddit, what is the most crazy concept that may actually be possible in the future? In my field, there has been a lot of work towards rebuilding organs. Essentially, take a diseased organ of any kind, decellularize it, remove all the individual cells, and leaving only the extracellular matrix scaffold, repopulate with healthy stem cells, and let that scaffold direct the cells, and rebuild that end-stage kidney into a healthy kidney, and get off dialysis, or rebuild a heart riddled with heart disease, maybe regrow an entire limb lost by a soldier or someone in a horrific accident. Quite a ways and a few Nobel Prizes from that. But a group in our field has already done this with a pig pancreas, and while it didn't last very long, ultimately, it was an important first step. Cultured meat, being able to grow meat from cells in a controlled environment, so we won't need animals anymore. Scientists have managed to produce a burger in the lab, but it's currently too expensive for mass production, although this might become normal in 10-20 years. This has the potential to free up our depleting resources, that is land, water currently dedicated to meat production, and growing meat in such a setting could also resolve many foodborne illnesses. However, so far the technology would only be able to create minced meat, and not slabs of meat, as that would require vascularization of the cells. Flying like a bird on Titan. This may actually be possible in the future. It's nearly possible right now. We almost have the technology to do it. We just need to get there. Titan, largest moon of Saturn. Second largest moon in the solar system. 10th largest body in the solar system. Has a dense atmosphere 1.4 times Earth's atmospheric pressure and a lower gravity 0.14 g. Earth is 1 g, so if you could get there right now, with a moderately better spacesuit and some crude relatively small wings, you could flap your arms and soar like a bird. Also, there are probably seas of hydrocarbons on the surface, and overall Titan has more liquid hydrocarbons than all of the crude oil and natural gas on Earth, so that's cool. Editors was correctly pointed out, there are some issues with retaining heat when inside the atmosphere of Titan. I've added in the italics to reflect this. Nuclear fusion. With the world continuously growing towards climate change, rising temperatures, melting ice caps, and smog hovering above cities, though we find a need for clean, powerful, and inexpensive energy, and the only completely clean, high-yielding energy without continuous maintenance is nuclear fusion. The only starting materials are hydrogen atoms, but the setback occurs at the requirement for temperatures over 2 million F and 1 million atoms of pressure. No nuclear waste or any waste at all. 4 times the energy output of nuclear fission. And cheap starting materials will save the energy crisis on Earth and remove fossil fuels from our electricity production altogether. Whichever country harnesses it first will rule the world. Edit. I know fusion reactors do actually produce some radiation, but it isn't like fission, where byproducts must be stored underground to keep them from causing issues. LFTRs are not ever going to be able to accomplish something close to what nuclear fusion will. I think close to 80% of the radioactive waste has a half-life of less than a day, which is not easy to manage. I'd much rather manage helium gas than the remaining isotopes that any kind of fission will leave behind. I agree low pressure reactions are cost effective, but won't produce energy at the scale fusion would. I think I meant 2 millil C, not F. We can fit a terabytes of data in the palm of our hand right now. Nano robots which can build anything given the raw materials and blueprints, including other nano robots, is not so far-fetched. Medical technology may soon be able to incubate a human from conception to birth. We are getting much better at finding near-Earth-sized planets in our galaxy. Now imagine sending human DNA, self-replicating nanorobots, and the entirety of human knowledge on a smallish ship to an Earth-like planet. Once there, the nanorobots are programmed to rebuild civilization. If we find thousands of Earth-like planets and send ships to each of them, then we can almost guarantee success if the plan is solid. I call this blowing our load all over the Milky Way. Epigenetics. Way too broad of a topic with too many unknowns at the moment. But think of it as software that runs the hardware, that is our genes' DNA, and allows organisms to adapt to environments as they change, or guides the repair of damage to the body. So in the future, imagine if we are able to just write epigenetic software programs for specific diseases, ailments, injuries or environments that tell our genes exactly which ones, more specifically the proteins they produce, and the function those proteins do needs to be turned on off, and in what amounts, to allow maximum adaptation or quick repair. Like in the Matrix where they download a program to make you suddenly know something mentally. You could do the same for the body and allow it to know how to use its own hardware to adapt to new environments or to quickly fix diseases or damage. Full-on cybernetics like you often see in sci-fi. Right now we can make rudimentary mechanical limbs that can respond to muscle contractions in the limb stump in order to move. But as the limbs lack any sort of tactile response, you cannot use them effectively without directly viewing them while you use it. We will likely someday be able to send data from the limb to the brain as opposed to just the other way around. Maybe even eventually having seamless robotic prosthetics that function as good as, or even better than the real limb. Geneticist here. With the invention of CRISPR technology we can specifically mutate any piece of DNA that we want in a cell. This could include the HIV genome that's integrated into a person, reversing critical genetic mutations. Mutating crop genomes without viruses. It's life changing and science changing, and it's an exciting time to do science. We will one day learn how to mimic a human brain on a computer and download a human consciousness onto it. It can then be given sensory inputs and physically exist as a machine. All of the fundamental building blocks are there already. Scientists have created simulated brains with about 1-2 male neurons. The human brain has about 100 B, so we are a long ways off. But we will get there. Now imagine this. It's very difficult to send a human to another star system. There are speed limits and problems like radiation and body deterioration. You then have to worry about the atmosphere and sources of food on exoplanets. But we can send androids, communication devices, solar panels, and 3D printers. So we send a single craft to another star system at incredible speeds. It will land on the nearest available rocky exoplanet. The androids, preloaded with a human consciousness, are powered on and begin working, setting up a manufacturing facility to gather raw materials and generate new machines and androids. A data store of thousands more minds are loaded onto the androids as they come online. Additional spacecraft are built to send to other star systems. We then beam data with high-powered lasers, providing a steady stream of new human minds, as well as improved technology schematics. Humans can now colonize the galaxy. Fat loss with a pill or prescription. We all have brown fat tissues in varying degrees. Mostly we have it as babies, but it deactivates as we get older. Brown fat metabolizes stored body fat, yellow fat, directly into body heat without having to be converted into sugars and consumed in muscle exertion. Chances are the skinny guy or girl you know who never wears a coat when it is cold outside and can eat like a pig without gaining weight has a mutation where their brown fat is turned on all the time. Scientists are decoding the metabolic pathways that can turn on brown fat. Eventually they will produce a drug that can turn on your brown fat. Sweat those extra pounds away. Using exercise to treat cancer. Already there have been numerous compounds isolated, i.e. anandamide, that cause apoptosis when applied to various cancer cells. Many of these are enhanced through exercise. Hypothetically, we could do something similar to blood doping where we have someone exercise, isolate the targeted compound from their plasma, and use their own physiological chemicals to treat the cancer with minimal to no side effects. Laser ablation. Without a doubt, when we think about interplanetary travel there must be two different kinds of transport. One for soft human cargo and the other for supplies and such. The rocket for the humans has to limit inertia, while the cargo doesn't need to control these bone-shattering forces to such a degree. This means we can create two different kinds of rockets for the future. One for goods, the other for people. Laser ablation essentially uses a super high-powered laser on the planet's surface to disintegrate a substrate. When the substrate is disintegrated, the force from the reaction can be channeled into a nozzle and used to create thrust. This causes the rocket to quickly be shot up into the air, and with a controlled lasers following the rocket, a significant amount of material can be ablated off of the rocket until it reaches orbit. When it reaches orbit, it is a matter of collecting the cargo and sending it to its next destination. This method of travel is considered to be the most cost-effective way to send material into space. All you need is a very strong rocket to protect from the atmospheric pressure, a nuclear reactor, and a super powerful laser. 2 of these exist. It's just a matter of getting our lasers up to snuff. But this is the next important step, establishing a feasible working intrastellar commerce, so we can mine the inhabitable planets around us to continue to feed civilization. Accelerated jail time. You commit a crime. You are injected with a swarm of nanobots. They self-assemble around your neurons, hijacking them and inserting you into a digital reality matrix where you do your time, but it's sped up. You can experience 20 years hard labor in 15 minutes, etc. Click subscribe. If you enjoyed this video,